And now we have it.
This is so cool.
Now, if you want to, you can just, I'm going to grab Earth because it's here. Okay. If I start on 1 and I paint it, you'll see it's still at an angle. And if I paint that one that corresponds to it, it goes up a little bit. And I can just keep on going around painting. And there's specifically, because we have 4 voxels in this shape, there is actually 4 separate spirals. So you could have 1 spiral, you could have 2 spirals, you could have 3 spirals in here, each with its own separate, or you could have up to 4 spirals with its own color, or you could pull out just 1 ribbon, or you could pull out what I do, which is every second ribbon, or you could just have a single ribbon spiraling slowly on its own, depending what you do. Now, I guess the question would be is, can you put this against a flat surface? My answer to that is yes, you can, because we now know how to angle a voxel. The thing I would do is, on my pillar base, I would prepare my pillar base for the inset. So what I would do is I would go and find my original shape, something like this, okay? It's nice and flat. And I would paste it, I would turn it, and I would paste it, and I would turn it, and I would paste it, and I would turn it, and I would paste it. So that's completely flat, and it's 1 voxel wide. It's a perfectly normal shape, except it's round. Now, that's fine. So what I can do is I can grab one of these, and I can paste it on top. Sit it right. See? And if I just paint that guy, see? Yes, it's perfectly fine now. And I could do that with each of the components, and then it can sit completely flat on a base, no problems.
Now, you know I'm going to ask. The other spirals are just basically different triangular shapes, correct?
Different combinations of shapes, exactly correct. I can, with our other tools that I've got over there, which you can all make from a quarter voxel, you can take this, and I'll just do an example. I'm going to go grab one of my long ones. It's a full voxel in the center, right? And pop back over here, sorry guys, to my sliver of earth-colored junk. I'm just going to change the color, it'll be easier. Well, Bessie, there we go. All right, now I have one of those pillars. I'll just show you. It's at that angle at the moment, but I'm going to rotate it, be facing upwards. And very, very carefully, I'm going to fully stuff this up. I had it in exactly the right place a second ago. Okay, I'm going to put it on the inside axis. This is the easiest way I have to do it. I'm going to put it on the inside axis, and now you see I've squished that out to be a whole 4 voxels. I can start calling them whole voxels now. I only work in quarters of shapes. It's a whole 2 voxels wide in the middle of that column. And you can do exactly what we did before. You can paste it, because if we miss every second, if we're doing every second voxel, they can stack perfectly, and they'll sit very much more tight towards the center of the shape.
I think our next build should just be all spirals.
Hey, our current build has it, so I'm building off-site already, okay?
The other thing is for the helix pattern, which I was trying to do one way and didn't work, but I found a better way. I found a way to do it. I'm I'm just going to make a copy here. The spiral is essentially built on the same principle. So if I take my long one and I use my squishing technique, I'm just pasting the middle one and then paste above and below to get a wafer. Notice I now have a wafer. I can apply that wafer in the same spot in the middle, and then I've squished it down to a wafer in the middle, and it's 1 voxel wide on the outside. Again, I can grab that and I can paste it and I can stack it, and then I can grab the stack, rotate it. Put it against the side, trying not to overlap. Yeah, and I start to spiral it around. Just gonna spiral it up. All right, spot. Yeah, there we go. There's the last one. Okay. And you've got another corkscrew. Now this one will meet, because I'm using every second actual spiral, it will meet in every second level. But what that does is that creates this little space in between, which makes it look like there's actually a completely hollow center. There isn't. You look at it from above, it's not a hollow center. It's a lie. But from the outside, it's got space between each one of them because of the fact that they're wedged together rather than being a full voxel wide in the middle, which means you can look straight through the pillar. For the most part.
You tried using your original center block as just a quarter block to make it to where you could make the whole center hollow?
If I expanded it out beyond, you could. There's a principle that causes it to fail in some cases, that makes it hard. I'm just going to post these ones I've got here. If I grab one of these blocks here and you look at it, you can't manipulate that inside corner. Where I've put my little triangle here, my little highlight it in my favorite horrible green luminescence. Okay, this here, you can't manipulate that inside edge. That point, you can't replace that with a flat surface.
Manipulating that inside edge. Your original block over here. You stretched it out using a regular block in there, right?
Yes.
Now, what if you made that original block a quarter block and use that same stretching technique with this over here?
I've tried that and it can't be done. As far as I'm aware, it can't be done, because I'll tell you what happens. I'll give you an example. I have a tiny little super mini triangle, which I'm going to go grab a copy of because it's easier than making one.
That one on the one over here on the box, or the one you made?
This little tiny guy over here is the one we want. Okay, highlight it. Okay. Now, I'll tell you, you would think, because we would love to think this, that I could just apply this onto the middle inside and it would make it flat, but it doesn't. Okay, because the rules of the corresponding surrounding blocks, what it will do is it will change the shape. And I'll show you what happens.
If you were willing to resort to props, you probably could make it look like a DNA, the double helix with the bar in between them, using torches.
Yeah. Potentially. Now you see how it hasn't tapered to that full extent of the edge? It's actually crushed it in. it doesn't taper along that flat edge. It's part of the rules of the voxel style that you cannot cause it to do that. Otherwise, I could quite easily make a hexagon that was a full block wide, and I could just taper off all four corners of a double box, making it an 8-sided shape, and I could make 8-sided pillars 1 voxel wide. But no, part of the system means that it can't do it. It's running on the same principle as these spiral pillars here. So if you look at these here, you see that I've got these 4 blocks. It actually is tapering in every second one in a different direction. Never will those two meet on a side, and it uses the exact same principle, so therefore you can't cause that side to crush. It's just part of the physics of the engine. The 2 invisible, in this case, the 4 invisible air blocks that sit between the offset little squares will always try and taper to their own side that they own, because they're between. They need their own space to exist. We're dealing with not a physics engine, an engine that always works on lines and attaching things to other lines that are next to it. So it's like a mesh. We're manipulating a mesh. Even the air is a mesh. And we can't break the mesh. But yeah, look, you can do that. It has an interesting effect if you take it. I've done it before, and I made a spiral out of it, but it looks a little bit different. Let's do it. Hopefully everything will still be solid in this, and I haven't broken it because I don't want to have to do it. So if I take it and I rotate it, this one's a little bit tricky here. You'll see it's kind of concave on one side in each one. Just to be really lazy, I'm just going to select that all and rotate it. And you'll see, yeah, look, it's a little bit hollow. So we've made a hollow space in the middle, but now the blocks don't line as much up. And if you can get right up the top and look, it's now got a giant star missing in the top.
Which is cool in of itself, actually.
Yeah, I've made patterns with it. There's one over here, which is like a crazy helix that I made earlier, which, let's go have a look at it. I'll show you where it is.
Trapped in the voxels.
My workshop is a bit messy. Here's one here. This first one here is made with that same principle, and you can see I've actually made it just, a point wide on the outside, and then it's half a voxel on the inside for an interesting shape, and that really demonstrates an interesting point. You'll notice that this one seems to be a lot more separate, whereas because it's every second one, whereas this shape next to it is like really sharp. When I've done these spirals over here, I've only done them for a total of 1 voxel on that side. The sharp point is only 1 voxel high, but I can do it up to 2. This one here is actually 2 voxels, and it doesn't work the same because essentially you're skipping a whole voxel in that chain of spirals. You're actually moving twice as fast as the others because you're only moving one edge rather than a whole. You're only using an edge rather than a whole voxel in width. So it moves between voxels much faster as it spirals. It's a much sharper spiral.
Still very pretty.
Yeah. And these ones, of course, because they're on the edge, you can't paste them together. Like if you can't paste them in the middle, like if I paste one in the middle, you'll see it becomes a solid block. Because it will. And that one creates actually an interesting weird shape.